You've been requesting a lot of live trading videos and lessons about VWAP indicator strategies, so that's what we're gonna do today. In today's crash course, we're gonna be covering both types of video lessons in this VWAP Trading Strategies crash course. Hello traders, welcome to another Humble Trader video. My name is Shay, aka the Humble Trader, and today you are in for a treat. As a trader for over 8 years now, I've used every indicator in the book and found the best ones. These days, I keep my charts very clean. The only indicators I use nowadays are VWAP indicator, volume, and of course, Elon Musk's Twitter account. This video crash course is dedicated to my favorite and the most versatile indicator to trade with, VWAP. VWAP can also be used on large cap and small cap stocks on the long side or the short side. Ladies and gentlemen, when I mastered trading using this one indicator, nothing was the same ever again, including my marriage with my ex-husband, Mike Bagholder. This crash course is meant for you to learn at your own pace. Whether you've never traded with indicators before or have some experience with VWAP, I guarantee you'll learn something new in this video, and you can implement in your own trading strategies. This VWAP Trading Strategies crash course will be separated into 4 chapters. In each chapter, you're gonna learn step by step using these VWAP strategies. Number 1, what is VWAP indicator and why is it so important for trading? Number 2, my favorite VWAP trading strategies. Number 3, live trading using this VWAP indicator. And number 4, the dangers of using VWAP indicator that you need to avoid. If all that sounds good to you, please remember to drop a like at the bottom of the video. And now let's get started. Okay, before we can go into the details of multiple VWAP trading strategies I have for you, let's start with the basics. What is VWAP and why is it so crucial to my day trading strategies, and how do you set this up? VWAP stands for volume weighted average price. And the reason it's so powerful for traders is that it takes both the price and volume into calculations. It's not like the moving averages, for example, EMAs and SMAs, where the formulas only average out the price, but disregarding the volume. VWAP is a very powerful indicator that can provide you with short-term support and resistance levels in trading. It's a great indicator for long and short strategies, as long as you can remember these criteria that we're gonna talk about. In the most general sense, VWAP indicates the strength of the stock short-term, whether there's more buying volume or selling volume. If a stock is trading above VWAP, that means the traders perceive it as bullish, because the majority of the volume is in the buyers bidding the stock price higher. And once it breaks beneath VWAP, it's considered bearish short-term, because the overall volume is people selling the stock. VWAP indicator works extremely well for large cap stocks, and it's especially useful when identifying traps when trading small cap stocks as well. For example, when I traded lower float small cap stocks, the only 2 indicators that I use is VWAP and volume. And don't worry, we're gonna talk more about these traps later on in the video as well. That's the reason traders like to use a VWAP indicator as a signal for trend reversals and for entering the stock long or short. Okay, let me show you how to set up this VWAP indicator on your trading platform. Okay, so over here, you're looking at my TradingView platform. I have my daily chart on the left-hand side here for Tesla stock and intraday 5-minute chart. This is how I recommend you to set up your chart layout. Now we want to put the VWAP indicator on the chart right now. So to do so on your trading platform, go find your indicator settings. In this case on TradingView, it's over here. And I'm gonna just search VWAP over here. So you can see right here, volume weighted average price. So just click this. And you can see on the screen, you see like 3 lines showing up, not just 1. And this is what happens on most trading platforms. You're gonna see this on Thinkorswim, Interactive Brokers as well, I believe, and a lot of other ones. What you're gonna do is to remove the upper VWAP and the lower VWAP and really keep the true VWAP indicator that we're gonna use for trading strategies. So to do so, I'm just gonna double click to show up the settings. You're gonna see upper band, lower band, just deselect it. And what I'm gonna do is, if I'm moving here, I'm gonna make the VWAP a lot more visible for me to see. I think this length will be good. And you can also change the colors as well. You can do this on Interactive Brokers, Thinkorswim, Webull, a lot of other platforms, as well as Dash Trader Pro. So once you configure this, just click OK. I'm gonna remove the fill, I don't need that, and just click OK. And voila, you have your intraday VWAP. You can do something similar on the daily chart as well if you wish, but I personally only use the intraday VWAP on the 2-minute and the 5-minute. So let's talk about how to use VWAP to find entries now. So for example, over here, you can see Tesla stock. At the open, it spiked a little bit and sold off. So essentially rejecting the red to green line and sold off to red. This will be this particular day over here on Tesla stock. And it's only once it's able to get above VWAP after 2 attempts actually. Once here breakout failed, reclaim at around 10:50, 11 o'clock, then you get the true trend reversal. And you can see the stock just steadily get bought back up and close strong back to the open. So this is what you want to look for. And this is what we call a VWAP reclaim. When a stock breaks down VWAP once, twice, and then in the middle of the day, usually that's when it happens, around 10:30 to 11 o'clock, if it's able to break above VWAP again, look for higher lows. You can see this low a day, this low on the 5-minute is higher than the one before. Higher lows, reclaiming over VWAP, the blue line again, and higher lows once again, you can see creating these steadily like smaller higher lows, and that's when you have the trend reversal to the upside. Another thing you can look at is volume. Does the uptrending stock finally have some consistent and ideally increasing in buying volume on the 5-minute chart? So on Tesla, it's a little bit harder to see, but you can see the selling volume is decreasing after the 11 o'clock that we talked about. This is cleaner, sometimes the 5-minute or even the 15-minute chart. So if the answer is yes to all of the above questions, higher lows, higher highs, VWAP reclaim, as well as increase higher in buying volume down here at the volume bar, then you can look for entries and pullbacks to the upside. Now let's look at the second example, which is the exact opposite. When the stock is breaking down below VWAP, like you can see here, breaking down and keep on rejecting VWAP. Remember, instead of reclaiming it like Tesla did earlier, it keeps on rejecting. You can see, this is the 5-minute chart over here. Try to retest VWAP, reject, sell off. Once again here, reject, sell off. Try that again, try to reclaim for a third time. Reject once again on the 5-minute chart, and then sell off into the close with an increase in selling volume over here in the end of the day. This is a sign that this stock, Nvidia, is extremely weak and the sellers have control of the stock. It's unable to even break out a VWAP indicator. So if you see the stock is staying beneath VWAP for an extended amount of time after so many retests, and you see the increase in selling volume like we talked about, then you are gonna see a no bounce city to the downside. So it's really likely that the stock is gonna break down multiple supports and close at the lows. In this case, it will actually be a better stock for you to short sell. This is just a very simple way that most traders use VWAP. It's a great guide to show you whether the stock is bullish for you to buy the dips, or if the stock is weak and bearish for you to short the little bounces. Chapter 2, my VWAP trading strategy step by step. Okay, so now that you know the basics of this VWAP indicator and you have it set up on your trading platform, now in the next chapter, I'm gonna walk you through the most complex but the profitable move you can make with VWAP indicator, which is smashing the like button. Okay, just kidding, I'm sorry. For real now. In the next chapter, I'm gonna share with you step by step my 3 golden tips for VWAP trading, which are how to use a VWAP as a key level, how to maximize your profits with VWAP, and how to use the VWAP indicator to spot short trap consolidations. Most of you guys probably know by now, I like to keep my charts very clean. All the indicators I use on my chart are this blue line here, which you can see. This is the VWAP over here. I use VWAP and volume, and that's all I use. So just a quick overview here. If a stock is trading above VWAP, so you can see the stock APE, AMC Preferred Equity, if the stock is trading and holding above this blue VWAP line, then the stock is perceived as bullish. That's due for a bounce. Now, on the other hand, if it's staying below VWAP, like the day IPO'd, you can see the stock broke down VWAP, that blue line, and stayed below it all day long. Then that's perceived as very weak. In the most general sense, you want to short stocks that's below VWAP and long stocks that's holding above VWAP. So the first tip I have for you is using VWAP as intraday key support. Now, looking at the stock here, INDO. This is a small cap stock on screen here, very low float stock. It's a former runner. Previously on the daily, you can see it ran multiple times in the past before. Over here, this day it went from $9 to all the way to $70 and $80. So this baby can go. Now on this day, the stock actually gapped up with the rest of the energy stocks. Now when this stock broke above the $9 area, which you can see here on the daily chart, then this is what we call a daily breakout. So you can see the stock broke out above it right at the open, broke out from $9 to $9.50, and where did it pull back to? It pulled back to VWAP. You can see it pulled back a little bit to 917s, may try to attempt another new highs, 980s, and each time it pulls back, it's holding well above this VWAP indicators. You can see it's holding 930s and slowly consolidated, making higher lows. You can see it bounce out VWAP, create another new higher low here, 960, and that's when it broke out, squeezed through the higher day and into the 11s. So this is one of the best ways to use VWAP indicators. First of all, you want to make sure you have a daily breakout on the chart, and this applies for both small cap and large cap stocks. And especially early in the morning, if you see the stock is breaking out but holding back just around VWAP, holding higher lows, then a lot of times that's a great entry on the long side, and you can ride it to the moon. Okay, not to the moon, but to $11 on next leg breakout. You can see it pulled back once again. This time around, it held well above VWAP and made another breakout move to the upside to $12. Like we just said, it works just as well for large cap stocks, if not even better. Now we're looking at OXY, another energy stock. This stock was extremely strong out of the gate. Same idea here. You can see it broke out right above yesterday's highs of $71 right at the open. Look at the volume down here, extremely strong. So we have a daily breakout with strong intraday volume, and you can see the stock, held well above VWAP for each of these 5-minute candles. This is how you know the stock this is a strong breakout, and you can use any dips towards the VWAP area as your long entries. Now, if you're more short biased, which you guys know sometimes I am for the small cap stocks, this is not a chart you want to short. I saw this thing this morning. I did trade it on the long side, and I did tell everyone, hey, don't short this, especially when it's a large cap stock. You can see every single dip towards VWAP is getting bought back up. Every single attempt to break down towards VWAP, it's getting bought back up. That just tells you how strong the stock is. So if you are short biased, you don't want to short this thing. Now this brings us to tip number 2, using VWAP to maximize our profits, especially when the stock is breaking down. You guys know that I love shorting meme stocks, whether it's BBBY or AMC in the past before. And the reason I love it is because once the stock, as you can see, breaks down VWAP, it stays extremely heavy. And a lot of times they fade all the way into the close. So looking at this stock here, BBBY, it's a meme stock that's been getting a lot of attention in the last couple of weeks. You can see this stock, this red day down here. The stock I sold off from all the way $26 down to $18, and now gapping down to around $10. Now this day I actually traded first on the long side for the stock. I longed the stock from $10 and sold into 11s and 12s. And once I see the stock staying heavy and breaking down red to green area, and went red on the day, and then now it tried to bounce out VWAP, right? You can see earlier we talked about when you have a breakout, that VWAP should be your bounce area. But in this stock, it was extremely weak. You can see it barely bounced above the VWAP. It bounced maybe like 30 cents from 10.30 to 10.60, and it just cannot hold above it. So once it's broken down VWAP, that's my sign that, hey, if I was long, I need to cut it now, because I know that once a stock like this, it breaks down VWAP, it's likely to fade all day and staying below it. So that's exactly what happened. On this 5-minute chart, BBBY, you can see once I bailed on my long side, it dumped below VWAP from 1030s all the way down to 980s. It attempted to bounce one time. That VWAP now acts as resistance. You can see it tried to test that blue area here, 1030s, but it's unable to even like retest and reclaim that area. So that's how you know the stock is extremely weak. So you can see that's how the stock, rejected that VWAP area multiple times and continued to downtrend all day. It's the same idea the next day as well. I mean, if you look at the next day, which is this morning, had a small gap up overnight, tried to break out with the rest of the market. You can see a lot of wicks around the top end of the candlestick. And if you learned anything from our price action trading video, all the wicks on the top end of the candle, especially around resistance, that means the stock is getting sold into. That means it's weakness for the stock. So these meme stocks, AMC, BBBY, and now I'm sure APE, they'll trade very similarly. Once they break down VWAP, they fade all day. So if I was short biased, to maximize my profits, I will try to ride it out for the entire day on the short side. And in fact, I've actually swung short AMC multiple times for multiple days. The next tip we're gonna talk about is using VWAP to spot short trap consolidations. This is something we've seen many times, especially with the low float runners, the meme stock runners. A lot of times, this is exactly what led to the huge breakout. So that's why it's very important to understand what short traps are and how to use them to your advantage. But before we go there, make sure to trap the like button, just like how my ex-boyfriend almost trapped me. What? But don't worry, I escaped, so things are all good. But remember to smash the like button. So speaking of short traps, I do think VWAP is the best indicator to use for spotting this kind of price action. So looking at APE now, AMC preferred shares, today especially, when it started breaking down VWAP, that's when I started getting in short. So I was short the stock. I did cover some around 660s, but I did think that, hey, since staying below VWAP, like we talked about, it looks like it's gonna fade all day, just like the BBBY and AMC example we talked about. However, if you go to the 2-minute chart now on APE, you can see, yes, it dropped all the way down to 650s, bounced back to 690, and slowly faded down lower. Now, a lot of times when you see this, you see the stock holding a double bottom. That's what these meme stocks, how they trap you. They have a small false breakdown from 654 down to 649. Take out some stops, take out some weekends from the retails, and then that's when it slowly reclaim back to VWAP. So a lot of times they go straight back on really low volume. So you can see it went from 650 up to VWAP, 690s. I had a stop around like $7 area. I didn't get stop out. I was thinking, okay, it might be a fake out. That VWAP could act as resistance like we talked about earlier. But no, this thing actually break down a little bit and held a higher low. So what higher low looks like is this low right here. If we kind of just draw a line here, this low area is higher than the previous low, the double bottom. So if you go to the 5-minute and draw a trend line, this low, the higher lows is forming below VWAP. It's lower than the one before. So a lot of times this is how you spot short traps. When you start seeing that on the higher time frame, it's creating these higher lows and reversing the trend after the stock had double bottom. But a lot of times the VWAP reclaim is a telltale sign. When it start doing higher lows below VWAP and breaks through it, that's when I got stopped out. So I'll show the chart right here. I had to stop right here around 702, 710s. It was a good stop. And you can see once the stock broke out above VWAP, and I stopped out, thank God, you can see it squeezed through the higher day to 740s, 750s. If I was still stuck short, I would have gotten squeezed out. So this is how you know it's a short trap. They break it down to seem like it's really weak, for an extended period of time from 10:50 all the way to an hour, 10:40, 11, and that's when it started breaking out. Short traps like this usually stay below VWAP during the middle of the day. So that's why around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, that's like the prime time for short traps. So this is a good example here, and the stock actually held above VWAP for the rest of the afternoon. You know, the VWAP around $7.10 area, it held really well. So I wouldn't be surprised if it gives another secondary breakout move the next day. Now back to the stock INDO we used earlier as an example, the low floater energy stock. So we talked about the breakout earlier to 1250. Now a lot of times when you start to break down midday, looking like it's weak, like we talked about breaking down below VWAP, these like low floaters, they're really good at trapping more shorts. I mean, it's a low float stock. A lot of times it does attract short sellers, me being one of them. Not today though. I saw this short trap, I'm just like, no, there's no way I'm shorting this. So it breaks down VWAP and actually, try to create like a lower high, making it look not very bearish, looking like, okay, it's gonna form a lower high around here. You can see, like if you are using technical analysis, you'll think that, oh, this thing is, this is the higher day. Now it bounced around VWAP to test the lower highs, and now it looks like it's gonna be another low high and start breaking down. But no, actually what it did is it held the higher lows below VWAP. So this is how they trap you if you are short bias. You want to be very careful because in the middle of the day, you can see coincidentally when they were trapping, you can see down here, the volume is extremely low. So once again, higher lows on 5 minutes below VWAP around midday, lunchtime on low volume. That's when you want to be very, very alert if you are short biased. Because otherwise you can get trapped once again. Once this thing reclaimed over VWAP around 1:30, that's when it broke out and went to test $12 again. Hopefully you guys enjoyed these 3 tips for how I use the VWAP indicator. To use it as intraday key levels, to use it to maximize my trade on the short side, and to use it to spot short trap consolidations, especially midday. I hope you've been enjoying these 3 tips on how I use the VWAP indicator. If you're enjoying this free crash course so far, please remember to drop a like down below. And feel free to ask any questions you may have about the indicator down below. I'll do my best to answer you. Our next chapter is all about putting our theories into the test. You know what they say? In theory, everything should always work perfectly and stocks will just fly to the moon. But in practice, they are not always this simple. Luckily for us, these VWAP trading strategies have been tried and tested many times in my own trades. I'll be showing you my live trading using VWAP with real profits and real losses. I'll be sharing with you my VWAP trading strategies on large cap and small cap stocks, on the long side and the short side as well. So let's dive straight into it. Chapter 3, Live Trading Example with VWAP. While I do not do live stream trading, I'm fine recording my trading screen. That's what we're doing in this video. We'll be going over some live trading on large cap and small cap stocks, on the long side and the short side, with some real profits and real losses. Let's dive straight into this. So the first stock we're looking at right here is Coinbase. I took it on the short side. This happened on August 4th, and this is a day where pre-market, there was a release of a catalyst that Coinbase is partnering with BlackRock. If you guys know Coinbase, they're a crypto exchange. And this partnership with BlackRock, one of the biggest asset management company in the world, this is a huge deal. And you can see pre-market, the stock rallied from about $80 all the way to over $100 into the open. So, and this is about 3 minutes after the open. You can see I took some shares on the short side. I already cut some for a loss for about $3,600 of losses on Coinbase. And now this is just a couple minutes after the open. Now my thesis into this is that a lot of times when we have these parabolic moves into the open, especially on large cap stocks, and on Coinbase that's been like down trading for so long, when you have these kind of huge breakouts towards some daily resistance, usually you're gonna be met with some selling and some major pullbacks. And so that's my thesis into this. So I started in some short around 110s into Coinbase on the 5-minute chart, seeing how the stock is gonna react to the higher day. When you're shorting the front side of the move, it's always better to let it set in the top and use the wick, the higher day, as your risk. So you can see this thing tested about 114 and now it's hovering around 111, 110. If it starts to consolidate, then I'm gonna have to cut it for a loss. But now I've only started into this trade about 1,500 shares on the short side with an average about 110, and I want to see whether it holds 110 or it starts breaking down towards VWAP. On the left hand side here, this is my Discord for my humble trader community. And now you can see on the 5 minutes here, how I trade is I usually have a 5-minute chart at the bottom. And then when the stock is really volatile, like in this case, Coinbase, it's volatile when the stock went from 80 to over $100. 116 is a higher day. This kind of range, I want to be using the 2-minute chart on the top. So when I'm trading, I like to have 2-minute and 5-minute kind of closely together for me to observe the price action. You can see right now we're failing the 110. We're slowly dripping down from the higher day of 114. Having trouble holding 110s now. You can see I have my mouse on the short button trying to add into the weakness here. No ads here. Because the spreads on this thing, if you look at the level 2, the spreads on this thing sometimes to be 20 to 40 cents. It's a little bit tough. Oh, it's gonna hold to the downside. So this thing actually halted to the upside. You can see it's trying to hold to the downside right now. Really, really volatile. You can see I added some. Now I have 2,000 shares. I'm always really cautious when adding into halt, both to the upside or downside, because you never know what's gonna happen after they're on halt. And for those who are not sure of what volatility halts are, these happen, the exchanges hold the stock when it moves up or down more than 10% within a 5-minute time period. And you can see now we are halted to a downside. I have 2,000 shares short at 109.50. So usually when I'm trading, I have one main watch. So for now, it's Coinbase on the short side. But you can see on the bottom left-hand corner, I have a couple of other positions open as well. These kind of live trading commentary videos take me a long time to make, to record and to obviously to comment and to show you guys both the wins and the losses. So if you appreciate this, make sure to drop the like button if you want to see more like this in the future. So currently with all the small paper cuts I've taken on some other trades, I'm down about 5,200 on the day. So stock is unhalted, we're now at 105. And after the unhold, I'm looking at how the stock reacts. If it's gonna get bought up really quickly and reclaim that yellow line VWAP, that's the indicator I use. If it's gonna reclaim quickly for a huge bounce, that's gonna show me some strength and I'm gonna have to reassess whether I wanna cut it or not. Or if it's just gonna break down just like this. So you can see I covered 500 shares just to be safe. I covered some at 102s, but I'm trying to hold the majority into more weakness for the $100 whole dollar mark breakdown. Now, the one thing I really regret is covering so much around 101s. In hindsight, I really wish I just covered 500 shares and left the rest right out because you can see it's really, really weak. After the unholds, this thing breaks down VWAP. And if you have watched my VWAP strategy videos in the past, you know that how I use VWAP is using it as a kind of like a sentiment shift, seeing whether the stock is relatively strong or relatively weak. The action is just very different from what it was like running into the open. You can see the stock can barely bounce after it breaks down VWAP. Now fast forward now, this thing is really breaking down. You can see I had a tiny ad around like $100-ish. I added 500 shares, which I really did feel like I chased a little bit, but it's still decent. That's why I'm covering that little ad really quickly around $197. So now I still just have the remainder 1,000 shares after I covered the 500 shares around $97, and now the stock is starting to bounce. But again, once again, when on these like really huge moves into the open, despite the positive catalyst, despite the high short interest on Coinbase, if this thing cannot hold VWAP, that's relatively weak in my eyes. You can say I covered a little bit more, about $97, which I will later regret. But now I just have the remainder of 500 shares at 106. And you can see I locked in most of the profits on Coinbase. You can see a lot of trading is just to let your winners work once you're in a winning position. So after this, I'm not doing much. I'm just kind of watching this, still scanning for other stocks and still talking to members on my Discord Humble Trader community. So you can see now I'm trying to cover up the rest of the shares on the reclaim of $100. So I covered now the rest of it. I have about 70 shares that didn't get filled. And you can see I'm all out. So I closed the Coinbase short for a total of $1,500. Sorry, not $1,500, $15,000. I have some more live trading tickers that I want to share with you guys, both on the profits and losses side. But at this point, if you find this video helpful, and if you want to see more live trading commentary like this, make sure to comment VWAP down below, and I'll make more of these videos for you guys if you find it helpful. So the next stock we're going to be looking at is PayPal on the long side. This is a trade that took place on August 3rd, I believe, and it's actually a losing trade. But don't worry, I'll still be sharing you my thought process behind this losing trade, my entries, exits, and why I stopped out, and how to minimize your losses if you're ever wrong. So PayPal this day, you can see actually gapped up from prior day's close of around $90 all the way to 102, 103s. They had really good earnings. They beat on all metrics that we care about: earnings, guidance, revenue, and the outlook is really good. So that's why I was more bullish on PayPal. Now, after some long sell-off of about 9 minutes into the open, this thing sold off from, you can see up here, from 102 down to $99. And that's the area I'm watching. I'm watching whether $99 or 100 is going to start holding. It's going to start making higher lows on the 5-minute chart. I'm going to look to enter on the long side for PayPal. You can see I'm stalking this. I'm looking at switching between the 2-minute and the 5-minute now on PayPal. This is the 5-minute. We finally have the first green candle holding $100 mark. So I'm looking to get long. So now we have the first, you can zoom in here. If you can zoom in, you can see that this is the first green candle on the 5-minute. That's really bullish. So I got a starter in 500 shares at average about 173 on PayPal. And I want to see the stock reclaim over VWAP. Once again, VWAP is a very key indicator for me. It's the only one I use pretty much. I want to see it reclaim over that to become bullish. And while we're watching this trade paying out, a really common question I get people asking is, how do we know if this is paper trading or real money? Now, my platform is Dash Trader Pro. You can only hide your account number down here with the alias, with the star, 1, 2, 3, 4 stars, if it's a real account. If you don't believe me, go to Dash Trader and ask the support. If it's a simulated account, you're going to see TR for training, 1, 2, 3, 4. You will not be able to hide your account number. So that's a really simple way to know whether it's a real account or a fake account. Can see this thing, still having trouble reclaiming VWAP, and now it's sold off from 170 down to around 110. And I'm still waiting for PayPal. I'm still trying to be patient. I'm only gonna add on this stock, on this position, over VWAP. And yes, you can see I'm down on the name, down about 70 cents, but I'm trying to be patient. And now I'm looking at adding into the position. The stock had consolidated enough off of the $100 mark. I'm looking at on the 5-minute and 2-minute, seeing whether the stock is going to reclaim over that same VWAP indicator we talked about. I like the weakness getting picked up on PayPal. I'm trying to add 300 shares at around 150, 146. And I have my Discord community open with my Humble Trader community, always trying to explain my thought process behind my entries, my exits, and what I'm looking for, the potential price target, and what my risk is. So in this scenario, I added some shares around 140. So now I have 800 shares at 160. And once it gets over that VWAP area, I want to add more into it. I want to be adding into winners, right? Adding into confirmations if I'm long, and adding into the breakdown if I was short. But PayPal, I'm looking to add into this winner. And if I add into this, then my risk would be the breakdown of that VWAP area. And you can see I'm trying to add more now. I added a smaller share size up here, around 180. I'm trying to get filled. Again, my price target is 102 and above. I'm risking below VWAP breakdown, which is below the 160s mark. So I'm keeping my risk still relatively tight on this. So we're up about $1,000 on the stock, $1,100 now as the stock tests 101.80s. Was just so close. We're about like 10 cents away from my 102 price target. 101.90s, you can see we're looking good. I thought, everything's looking pretty strong. QQQ at the time is bouncing, same as a SPY. I thought we're gonna test 102. But, spoilers, we didn't. And this one turned out to be a loss. You can see that's a pretty nasty rejection right there. From 111, from 101.90s down to 101. Once again, we had that same rejection we saw earlier, maybe about like 5 minutes ago on this same candle. We're seeing the same rejection again. Now, in hindsight's 2020, I wish I had sold some into that rejection, seeing that we cannot retest the same 101.90s area. Because I went from being positive like 1,100 on this name to now I'm down about unrealized, like $100, which it's okay because I'm trying to see we're gonna hold a higher low above VWAP and see whether we're gonna reclaim that area right now. You can see PayPal, it's hanging out around my average, which is at 170, and it's really breaking down. You can see it's now consecutive red candles and all the red prints going through. And this is the point where I realized, I should stop out. It's looking really weak. It went through my average. Now it's at 116, and I'm trying to stop out. So I'm about to cut here at 132, or I'm trying to scale out. 500 shares at 130, telling everyone in my community that, hey, I think this thing's gonna flush and break down. And I'm about to get out the remainder for another loss. You can see I got all my position at $100.20. And just see what happens after this. I'm glad I got out. So I got out of PayPal for about $400 loss. Hopefully this live trading commentary with real profits and losses using VWAP really helped you guys out. If you want to see more live trading videos like these in the future, please remember to comment live trading down below. I know firsthand how exciting this must be to see profits and green everywhere. Believe me, I've been there too. It's hard not to get caught up in the excitement of seeing some initial profits. And you know what? I've only shared with you the upsides and the benefits of using VWAP so far. But I wouldn't be the real humble trader if I don't keep it real with you and sharing the dangers of using this indicator. So you must pay attention to this. Let's talk about the not so great aspects of VWAP indicator that traders should look out for. As much as we all wish that there were perfect indicators out there, unfortunately that's just not the case. And yes, that includes VWAP. Unit 4. Be cautious with market makers using VWAP indicator as algo traps. While VWAP is a great tool for traders, over the years it's become really popular. And with the rising popularity of VWAP, the market makers and the algos have adapted to using the fact that so many traders are using it to trap them or to chop them around up and down and taking out their stop loss orders. And let me show you how right now. Let me show you in this perfect example over here on the stock TNYA. This is a perfect example of algos using VWAP indicator to take out stops last week. First of all, this is a small cap stock with around 300 million market cap and a float of 63.5 million shares. Oh my god, people are gonna go and buy shampoo. Okay, whatever. And usually when trading these small cap stocks, you should be very cautious because that's when you'll see the most common VWAP traps that we're gonna see. And if you trade a lot of these small cap stocks, especially the low floats, that's when you need to be the most cautious with these kind of traps that we're gonna talk about using VWAP. But this is not limited to just small caps. You wanna be careful when trading large cap stocks as well. So on the intraday chart on TNYA, you can see we're looking at this particular day last Friday when it had broken out multiple days. This is the third day of the breakout. You can see that the stock in the morning, you opened at around 470 and broke out on the 5-minute chart all the way to 550s. And then after the huge breakout, I mean, we're talking about 10-20% move, and this thing had a huge flush down, breaking down below VWAP over here, down from 540s all the way to 490s. Now pay attention now, my humble traders. This breakdown you see right here below VWAP is what they use to take out the stops on the longs and then to trap the short sellers. And this is the reason when trading these small cap stocks, I like using the 2-minute chart. So you can see after that breakout we talked about, we flushed down, breaking down VWAP from 520s down to 510s, and it had a rejection over here. If I zoom in here, you can see rejection around VWAP and sold off to the lows to 490s. Now you can see after that breakdown, everything looks extremely weak, right? The volume is decreasing. You try to touch VWAP again, got rejected. But this happened for a period of time from 10 o'clock all the way to 10:30 and over to 11 o'clock. It just looks really weak with really little volume. But at the same time, even after multiple rejections, the stock is still holding on very closely to VWAP. You can see rejection here, sell off, but holding on closely, reject here, sell off, and then reclaim back up, reject again, but holding higher lows on this little pullback. It's not really selling off with increasing selling volume like we talked about earlier on Nvidia stock. You're gonna see this a lot when trading small cap stocks. Essentially, they are just taking out people's stops over here and then over here. And after they are done taking out the stops on the long side, that's when they slowly bring it back over VWAP. And now it's the short's time to get trapped. With each of these rejection on low volume, they're essentially trying to get more short sellers to pile on to short the stock. Because you know what happens when everyone shorts a stock and the stock won't go down, right? It gets squeezed to the upside. You can see after a lot of consolidation, small VWAP reclaim around 10:40, 11 o'clock, dip back to VWAP. This time it won't break down. Around 12, that's when it actually broke out to new highs to $6. And you can see the third or the fourth attempt here is the successful one at VWAP reclaim. And all the short sellers that piled on earlier, they all have to buy to cover, causing this huge squeeze that you see from 520s to 550s and to $6. And friends, this is what we called a short squeeze. A lot of small cap stocks trading on low volume are very algo driven like this one. You can either just avoid it altogether or you give the stock a lot of room to breathe, whether you are long or short if you choose to trade it. A key takeaway you can learn from this VWAP trading strategy is do not put stops too close to VWAP. You don't want to put stops right at VWAP like so. It's just too easy for you to get stopped out by a single wick. This VWAP indicator crash course is just one of the many that I've created on this channel. So if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. And if you're looking to accelerate your learning, make sure to check out our in-depth education program and mentorship down below. Thank you guys so much for watching as always. I'm the Humble Trader, and I'll see you guys next time.